Rev up your engines! Here we have a 2013 Chevy Volt. Now the owner bought this Volt, 120,000 miles on it. He bought it used for 11,000 and he's pretty happy with it. It's an electric car and it's a gasoline car. It's both. Now they always give things names. Technically it's a plug-in hybrid because you can plug it in and you can run it on just electricity, or you can run it on gasoline. It can go both ways. Now if you think about it, it's kind of the best of both worlds. It's got two modes. You can run it in hybrid, you can run it on electric, or you can run it on gasoline alone. He did tell me that under warranty they had to rebuild the top of the gasoline engine because the gasoline engine is just a little bitty 1.4 liter and it came apart, but he got it fixed for free. So now you can use this car as an electric only car, and he said in town he could go about 40 miles on electricity alone. And then you can plug it in. You can see the plug here. If he runs out of electricity, he put a 240 system in his house. And he can fully charge the thing at 4 hours because he's got 240 volts. In a pinch, he's charged it at 120 volts. Takes twice as long. Takes about 8 hours, he said, if the plug's good, to recharge it. So overnight, it's not bad because it's a small car with a smaller battery and a smaller range, 40 miles. But you don't have to worry about range anxiety because it's got a gas tank too. And the gas tank, it can go over 300 miles. You're not going to get stranded. So you could use it as a city commuting car, run it on pure electricity if you want. But then let's say you got to take a trip, you can run it on the electricity till it runs out. Then you can run it on gasoline. Now it also has a mode that if you're running out of electricity, you run it on the motor, it can also partially charge the battery about halfway. So you could go back to electric mode. You could use it as a boost too. It's got a lot of interesting aspects to it, but they don't make them anymore. A lot of it had to do with that problem with the Korean batteries. You probably saw where a few of these things started on fire, burnt down guys' garages. But I do have to say, he's still on the original battery, 189,000 miles on it, yet he's still on the original battery, so he hasn't had any problems with it. The problem with a lot of recalls and stuff is 10 people start on fire, that's a big deal. Well, there may be hundreds of thousands that don't. You're always gambling. Now, they said, you know, they're going to replace all stuff. He didn't get a free battery yet, so he's still running on the original one. And GM didn't contact him and say, hey, come get your free battery. So he's just driving it around. It's a compact-sized car. You can see, like a hatch. It's got space. You can pop the seats down. For its size, it's pretty well designed. You get a lot of stuff in it. And he had the software change, so this is now a flex fuel one that can run on ethanol too. Now for the life of me, I don't understand politics. They want to go green, right? This makes the most sense because you're not going to get stranded. You can run it on any kind of fuels. It gets good gas mileage. It's an interesting idea, but the politicians just are against this stuff. If it's not a fully electric vehicle, they don't give the tax breaks and blah, 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 blah. We all know how politics work. Somebody's greasing somebody's palm. Well, they sold about 177,000 of these. They're throwing the baby away with the bathwater. Oh, it's not 100% electric, so we're not going to give anybody breaks. Hey, this makes more sense as an interim car. Sure, maybe one day when we have flying cars, we'll all be driving pure electric cars. But let's face it, there needs to be some type of a transition. And it makes sense to have a car that can be electric when you want it, 40 miles, but has range and runs on gasoline, or runs on E85, 85% ethanol, 15% gasoline. To me, that makes a lot more sense than saying, well, let's get rid of all the gasoline cars. We're all going to get electric cars. Where's the electricity going to come from? There's plenty of electricity to charge these little things up to run 40 miles. But not for the big ones that can go 300-400 miles. If we had millions of those, where are the stations are going to come from? Where's the electricity coming from? To me, small makes more sense with electric cars. People don't understand. Elon Musk, he didn't create Tesla. He bought a company, and the company was originally made to be a luxury manufacturer of luxury, high-end electric cars for a few people. He decided he's going to sell expensive electric cars to everybody. This, as far as I'm concerned, is a better idea. Small car, you can run it either way you want. The problem is, of course, the profit margin of these is less because it costs more money to make two separate systems. So GM probably wasn't making enough money. That's probably the main reason they axed the thing. You remember GM came up with EV1, the first electric car, and that had started out with regular lead acid batteries. It take forever to recharge. It could go 58 miles or something, right? They didn't even sell any of them. You could only lease them, and only in California and different places. They knew they weren't going to be popular. The government more or less forced them to make them. To my mind, this is a better idea. They're not making them anymore. They don't have these anymore. They're making the Bolts now, fully electric ones. And yeah, they're a small car, but still, where's all the charging stations? Range anxiety. I know people who have driven cross-country in electric cars. They said it would take anywhere from 3 to 10 times longer on the trip because stations didn't work, they were closed, they couldn't get into the system to charge their car. Now this baby has an electric charging port, but also got a gas tank. Yes, a regular gas tank with a regular gas cap that holds 9.3 gallons of gasoline. To me, that makes more sense than the ill-fated BMW i3 that they made that was an electric car, because it only had a 3-gallon gas tank, and it could only go a max of 90 miles on gasoline. This thing can go over 300 miles on gasoline. So, I gotta say, as far as I'm concerned, this was a better idea. I say was, because they don't make them anymore. You can see it's really quiet, because it's in electric mode now. Got a decent little backup camera. Of course, this is a compact car. We're coming to the bumps here, and we'll see how it does on the bumps. I don't expect miracles, but let's see what happens. It's not bad, really. For a small car, it's not bad. Now we're coming to our little turn. We'll see what kind of acceleration this thing has. Do we need to pray to see? Well, we'll find out. And here we go. Full blast. Now, it's not a race car, and there's somebody slowing down there. Okay, now we can go faster. I'm kind of amazed at how smooth this thing is for a small Chevy. Got a nice small turning radius on it. It's a fun car to drive. So basically, you got 3 choices of fuel. You can have electricity, you can have gasoline, or in his case, he had it converted so you can use E85 ethanol if you want. So you want to know what I think about this car? I think Chevrolet threw the baby away with the bathwater when they stopped making them. Sure, it's a small car, but electric cars are made to be small. Americans all want giant SUVs and they want a miracle where they're going to get good gas mileage. Guess what? It's not going to happen. Doing a big SUV is going to use more fuel or more electricity. You use more electricity, you need a bigger battery. Battery costs more, it weighs more, it uses more electricity for that. It's an endless cycle of destruction. Now, electric small, it really does make sense. Of course, Americans are into big SUVs. It just doesn't pan out. You're either going to have a big SUV or you're going to have something small that gets good fuel mileage. And they maximize this thing. You can get these flat by taking the cushions out. They did a trip, they wanted it flat to put things in. It's a relatively handy. Now there's some toilet paper. I don't know what's happening there. I don't think I'd use it as a bathroom. You know, as I say a lot of crappy things about GM cars, in this case, I think they made a big screw up. They were starting to build something that was good, and then after 9 years it said, oh, we don't like that, we'll throw those away. We're not gonna make them anymore. I think that's a political mistake, an economic mistake. Pretty decent little cars getting around in, best of both worlds. In this case, best of 3 worlds. Ethanol, gasoline, or electricity. What's wrong with that? Nothing. The problem is either they weren't making enough money building these things, or like all the manufacturers these days, they've all jumped on the bandwagon of electric cars. They gotta be pure electric, and we're gonna magically have electricity coming out of the atmosphere. Kind of reminds me of Tesla himself, the man who was trying to conduct through the atmosphere, and he found out that you could do it on a little dome, but over long distances, it just doesn't work out all that well. And as far as I'm concerned, this myth of electric cars, everybody's going to be driving them all the time, that's not going to pan out all that well either, especially if they're building bigger and bigger ones, when the only thing that makes sense for electric cars is smaller cars for smaller ranges. Now granted, he did have to have the engine rebuilt under warranty, so that shows you the engine wasn't too hot in the first place. My Matrix is 4 years older than that, and it's still got the original engine humming along like a charm because it's a Toyota. I wish that Toyota would make an electric hybrid like that, not some weird looking Prius or something, just a normal car that could actually go 40, 50 miles on electricity. But even Toyota's kind of walking away from the plug-in stuff because of this political crap of they have to be 100% electric and can't have gasoline or ethanol motors. So, hey, I think the Volt was headed somewhere before GM, guess what they did? They pulled the plug on the Volt. Well, that's GM for you. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.